Up next, we have our global first InnoChef Cooking Show. Today, we have two incredible, very talented chefs cooking a delicious dish completely prepared with non-animal protein. Brian West, Global Manager of Food and Beverage, and Jacob Anaya, Head of Culinary Operation, both at NVIDIA. So, guys, good to have you here with us today. What's cooking?
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Tommaso. So a couple things to get out of the way first. Jacob and I both run the global food program for the tech company NVIDIA. And that's number one. Number two, we are not vegan. We're both meat eaters. And so this has a whole different level to it because we understand the importance of switching over some of the habits that we have and the community has from eating meat in general and protein. So we're going to start off, we're going to do a barbecue platter, traditional American barbecue platter, but with no animal proteins, all alternative protein and vegetables in the platter. And Jacob, you want to start with your product?
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for having us. This is really, really exciting. It's I think me and Brian, done like some random non-meat options before, but for us it's really fun. We want to give the people an option to do something that's comforting, that makes sense to us, and so thus we picked barbecue. So what we did is we did a pulled pork barbecue with jackfruit, and so that's in here if you can see it.
And this jackfruit we actually got from the company Karana, which was on one of our virtual coffees that I had the opportunity to ask questions to the owner, and we had some great conversation after. So this is a great example of us continuing our conversations from our virtual coffee with ProteinX, and then continue our relationship. So we got some amazing product from the Karana company for their jackfruit, and so we've kind of spiced it up a little bit with a barbecue sauce that Jacob made.
Yeah. So basically, the way I did the jackfruit, I treated it the way you would do pulled pork. So I took it out, rinsed it, patted really dry, and then from there I smoked it in my backyard smoker. It's a green egg. Smoked it for about an hour and a half. Did put some onions underneath of it, garlic on top, and then I did this little smoked spice on top of it, and did it the same way. And then from there I made a barbecue sauce. It's a non-cooked barbecue sauce. It basically consists of ketchup, mustard, dried onions, dried garlic, a little bit of cayenne pepper and vinegar, a little bit of sugar. I did this the night before, so all of those flavors kind of come together and really meld and kind of do what they do. So that we did that, and then also we did a pimento cheese. Pimento cheese is a very classic, Southern style dish or dip. It's basically calabrese chilies. Little bit of what was the cheese that we did on that one, Brian? Oh, we did this one. We did Epic style aged cheddar, and then we also did a chive and garlic soft cheese in it. Pretty similar to Boursin cheese if you had it. So that's going to be one of the garnishes on that. And then also did a whipped coconut butter, a little bit of honey in there. So when you have that generally with when you do a barbecue platter. And then finally, I did a really great cornbread. Well, with the cornbread, I did it with it's all vegan 100%. So it's flour, coconut, or regular flour, corn flour. What else did I put in there? Canola oil. And some sugar and everything else in it, and the rise in it is baking powder, but to make it a little bit more interesting, I put cricket powder in there, just a little bit of protein aspect of it, and then finally I did candied cashews, so a little bit of crunch factor.
And the candied cashews, he coated with the cricket flour as well.
Correct.
So when we've been talking with these companies and the alternative protein movement, a lot of the insect companies, crickets and things like that, we've had conversations with. Sadly, a few of them that we talked with couldn't ship to us in the U.S. Just from the overseas regulations currently. But we are kind of slowly pushing the movement in the U.S., which is a very hard perceptive to get out. and change of the normal American perspective on eating insects. But if you make this cornbread with this cricket powder or any cricket flour, minds are gonna be blown. No one's gonna know it was cricket. The nutty flavor that comes out is insane. So this is a great way that Jacob created to innovate the cricket flour and incorporate it into the food.
Correct, and then that's awesome. So basically, we're just gonna pick up the slider now, and so I got my my jackfruit that I smoked yesterday for about an hour and a half, and I have my no-cook barbecue sauce that I put in there. And again, it's this ketchup, mustard, the garlic powder, onion powder, and a bit of vinegar and sugar. So I'm letting this come up. And the whole idea with this, we want to do something that we feel that everyone can kind of produce at home. So some of these items, you can have at your house. And that was the whole idea behind it.
You can find all these ingredients at stores, usually around the U.S. And around most countries these days. But if you can't, there's other ways to do it. Like Jacob said, we actually have some, at our Whole Foods and natural stores around the U.S. We have these amazing vegan butters and vegan spreadable butters, vegan cheeses, different types, and that's what we use for the pimento cheese. So it's really about going to the store or your local markets or your local farmers markets and having fun with these vegan items that a lot of times are scary to the typical American, the meat eater, right? And so us showing that we can go to the store and really have some fun, create some dishes and create this entire barbecue platter, all from plant-based items, was extremely fun for us. And I think that I'm gonna incorporate a lot of these things into my daily diet. And that's what, yesterday we had the gentleman from Cornell, and he was saying, think of meat as more of a special thing and don't think of it as a commodity, right? And that's the kind of perception that we're trying to get out in our company, all the way from our CEO all the way down. We're trying to reduce our carbon footprint and, really kind of trying to go meat less, not fully meatless yet. It's a step-by-step process. We got to start it slow. But this plate and the barbecue platter we're creating, you don't have to do the whole thing. You can incorporate small pieces of it into your normal party platter and then eventually build up if you want to. But they're all going to be party hits. People won't even know or think twice that they're vegan or not meat, right? That's where we were trying to go with this platter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, like me and Brian, we made the pimento cheese that we talked about earlier, and honestly, if you close your eyes and you put it in your mouth, you would never know that
it's fantastic.
That it's this straight, plant-based product. So we're just gonna build the pulled pork now, and the texture and the consistency of it really reminds you of a pulled pork. So that's what's really cool about jackfruit. It has that texture, the bite on the mouth. And we're just gonna build it the way you would do a regular pulled pork. So put it on the bottom. Just gonna build it like that. From there, I'll probably put a little bit more barbecue sauce on it, and with it, you can smell the smoke on it, because it's really been hanging out in the smoker yesterday for a couple of hours. So it really has that consistency, the flavor, the smoke, as if you would have a full-on pulled pork.
And what else could you do with jackfruit, Jacob, besides doing a pulled pork style?
With let's see what else you can do it. You can you can do enchiladas if you want it. If you want to incorporate the Mexican flavor to it. Get your corn tortillas. Put it into canola oil fat. Roll the jackfruit into it. You can also make it into a patty. You can do my favorite. I'm like a nacho lover, so I would see this as a nacho flavor. You can definitely put the pimento cheese on there. All these different things on there. So I'm doing a slaw. So I put pickles on top. My slaw is Napa cabbage and red cabbage, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white balsamic vinegar in there, just to bring out the flavor of the pork a little bit more. I did pre-soak my cabbage. So I did a little bit of sugar and half salt, just to kind of make the cabbage a little bit softer. Not necessarily like kimchi style, but more so it holds its shape a little bit more.
And for all these recipes, we're using vegan sugar. Obviously, normal, typical granulated sugar is usually filtered with bones. So just for this event, we figured we'd go and get the vegan sugar. Which you can find at most stores. If you don't want that, you can go for a more unrefined sugar. If you're trying to keep it vegan, at any health food store, they have the unrefined sugars that aren't processed that way.
Correct. So, that's it. You look at it.
Man, that's like a sloppy Joe right there, man.
I see it, and it looks like a proper pulled pork sandwich, but with jackfruit. So essentially, that's it. We do have all the recipes, so we'll definitely share with everyone. After this segment. But from there, I'm going to turn it over to Brian, and he's going to walk you through what he has to do.
Thank you, Jacob. Jacob's going to go throw those on our platter we're building, and at the end, we'll kind of show you the full barbecue platter spread. So I have a couple things going, and again, these are things that I bought at the store for the most part. Going to denature them in a little bit, but not too much. There's a lot of really good products out there right now, so I think part of this symposium is really reaching out to the producers, the purveyors, the people that are innovating in their space, and which is why we use the cricket flour and all these different things. I have some Beyond Meat hot link sausages that are perfect the way they are, and again, we're using our smokers. We're generally cooking meat, right? So we're going to use the same things that we're cooking in our house, but we're going to cook them without meat. So we used our smokers for almost everything that you see here. Jacob has a green egg wood smoker. I have a pellet Traeger smoker, and we use them for everything you're going to see here. So the smokers are not just for meat. Smokers are for vegetables and vegetarians and vegans as well. So what I'm going to do is I have a impossible steak, essentially, right? And this was created by someone that I follow online a while back called Sauce Stash. You can follow him on YouTube. He has some amazing innovative recipes for vegan innovations in food. But essentially it's taking the Impossible or Beyond ground beef and combining it with the concept of making seitan. So seitan is just wheat gluten, vital wheat gluten, and water, right? And it makes a dough that you can then steam and then cook and flavor however you want. The traditional way to do it is you flavor it with a liquid. So this way, which I thought was really innovative, and I've been doing this for a while now, is using the Impossible ground meat, right, which already has the heme, it already has all these different aspects that are hard to get, or if you put a lot of work in, you can do it, but we're trying to make this easy. So the Impossible meat as the base, then adding vital wheat gluten to it to form almost like a very firm steak texture, and then we're going to smoke that. You already showed your cornbreads, right?
Yeah.
You took one out, Sean? Should have opened this package before.
So, Brian's opened up this package. So this is the cornbread that I did. I did it in little silicone pads. So they're kind of like little individually shaped ones. I prefer it that way because you can eat one or you can eat a dozen. You're picking that one. And again, what I did is I put the cricket flour underneath the pad, and then put a little bit more cricket flour on top, and then I crushed the candied cashews on top of it, so you get a little bit of crunch factor on it, and and ideally it came out super nice, and and then you want to pair it up with the coconut butter that I incorporated honey into it, and again all these dishes and ideas is something that you would 100% find in any southern barbecue place. Brian, it's all yours.
Awesome, thank you. So I have the Impossible meat. It's a 12-ounce pack of the Impossible ground meat in here, and then I'm gonna slowly kind of just work it with a paddle attachment and whip it a little bit. A little loud, sorry. this is starting to emulsify, right? All the ingredients inside. Could you give me like a cup of water? Sorry, cold water. Forgot to get all my mise en place ready before this. So then we also have vital wheat gluten and also a little bit of chickpea flour. So the chickpea flour helps it be a little bit more supple when you have the texture at the end. And the vital wheat gluten obviously is the main binder for everything that's going to make it really nice and bouncy, similar to a meat protein. I have about a cup and a half of the vital wheat gluten in here, and then a quarter cup of chickpea flour. And this recipe, it seems, I've done it a few times, and I always add a little bit of cold water in the beginning just to really work this out. But it always comes out a little different with how much flour and water. Obviously, this is similar to anything else that you do in a kitchen. Depends on community, where you are in the world. It's kind of like touch, just similar to pasta dough or any kind of dough you would make, where you want to just kind of add a little bit more if you feel like it's a little too tacky. What I am going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of blackstrap molasses, just a teaspoon, right? And this is going to give it a little bit of color and more depth of flavor. And what we're really trying to build is umami notes. Umami is another sense that flavor you can't really touch, right, in your mind, but it's always there. So soy sauce, sesame oil, all these Asian flavors usually have umami, as well as mushrooms, right? Mushrooms are very earthy. So we're going to add a little bit of sesame oil, not much, because you don't want it to taste like you put soy sauce or sesame oil, but it's going to add this nice umami. Probably about a tablespoon of soy sauce, of light soy sauce. And then we're going to whip this up a little bit more. And then, so we have our spice mix, and I created this spice mix. I call it my vegan spice mix. Vegan because we added a little bit of, we have dehydrated honey powder in here. We have black pepper, smoked paprika, some dried thyme, but we also have nutritional yeast added in here as well. Nutritional yeast is going to give you this kind of cheesy, meaty flavor. And we also have dried mushroom powder in here, which I usually don't put in my rubs because I don't need them when I'm rubbing my brisket. I don't need the mushroom flavor in there. But the mushroom powder is going to add this nice umami, meaty flavor to it with the nutritional yeast. So we're going to add this in here, and we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of this. And this is really going to be the flavoring of the meat itself. So we'll whip this up. And anybody, this is going to be a weird concept of, it looks like ground beef and you're making it into a dough. Very strange, right? But we're going to do it. So we're adding all this in here, all the dry. And this is essentially going to turn into almost like a dry pasta dough. Then we're going to add water to it to make it a firm pasta dough. And that's going to be our product that we're going to do. So very strange for the most people that are starting out with this, but trust me, trust the process.
So you're basically trying to emulsify it.
Exactly. So it turns into, see if we can see this. Here we go. So you can see it's dry crumbles right now. Now we're going to slowly add our water. We're going to add about a cup of water. Cold water, you really want to keep things cold, just if you were making a sausage. You want to keep the fat molecules cold so they don't bleed out and spread everywhere. And the same thing, you want to keep everything ice cold when you're working with this.
And then what type of consistency are you looking for in that?
Oddly enough, you're looking for a pasta dough, right? Which is very strange, but that's exactly what you're looking for. So we can see here, this is very close, and you can take that, tell them, very close to a pasta dough.
Yeah, I mean, the texture is what you're looking for. It doesn't stick to your hands, So it's a loose pasta dough. It's not what you would make if you're going to send your pasta to an extruder, but essentially what it is, you want to make sure it holds its shape, and that's essentially that's what you're looking for. It's kind of like if you're making meatballs. Yep. Same idea, right? Same texture, and that's it. It feels nice.
check this. Do you have a mustard?
Mustard? Yeah.
So again, we're going to need this. You really want to work the vital gluten to make it really hold together properly and then expand. So, I would have already mixed this. This is magic of TV. I would have already mixed this in the mixer for about 5 more minutes, just to really work all the proteins together, or all the gluten together. But right now, when you have it on your counter, you're really just going to start working like you would a pasta dough. And then essentially you just want to kind of keep folding it in the same direction, and it'll form right here into a big log like this. We're going to cut it in half. And you can tell when you're working with this with your hand, you can see fibers that are sticking together, right? Similar to an actual animal protein. And we're gonna fold them over, press them down into these steak shapes.
Looks like a New York steak to me.
It's like a New York steak right there.
Yeah.
Do I have the parchment paper over there?
Yeah.
They're behind the mixer bowl. So now, in traditional, creating these recipes, we're trying to keep very traditional. If I'm gonna do something with this, I'm gonna do the same thing that I would do with ribs on my smoker or brisket on my smoker, right? So we're gonna have some parchment paper. Little difference is we're gonna steam this just to really get the sponginess and the full texture out of this. But what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna do, traditionally with ribs, you wanna create a binder. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I do it both ways, different times. You wanna create a binder with a little bit of mustard. That way your spice mix will adhere to it fully and create a really nice crust on it. Yeah. So let's set this one aside.
Well, they would sometimes put oil on there too, right?
Yeah, or oil, but the mustard flavor is really it fades away. You don't taste mustard, but it creates this amazing crust on the outside. So same thing with this. We're gonna just really kind of coat this in this light coating of mustard. There we go. And then now, thank you. It's always nice to have another set of hands in the kitchen as well. Otherwise, I would have to be using weights over here. Now we're gonna be adding our spice mix over the top. And we're doing this before we steam it. I don't know if you've ever had a fully cooked piece of meat and try to season it, but this all just bounces off of it, right? They don't soak in. So this is exactly what we're gonna do. Season with our same rub, lightly touch it. Usually I would let this sit for 5 to 10 minutes to let it really soak in, but we're live. So we don't have time for that.
Yeah. I mean, and generally in a protein setting, if you're doing it with beef or chicken or whatever else, you want to always, pre-season your meats. So the sugars and the salts kind of like get into there and really, get into the protein. Same idea, you still want to, really incorporate those flavors into that protein. So we're treating it the way you would a steak, the way you would, be a piece of chicken or whatever it may be. So same idea.
So we've wrapped this extremely tightly in parchment paper. That way the product isn't actually touching the foil. And then we're going to wrap it extremely tightly in the foil. You do not want this to be loose. Gluten, when it expands, when it cooks, it'll be a disaster. And we really want the protein to be tight, similar enough to a steak. So we have this really tight. For right now, I would let this rest in the fridge for about a half hour to an hour. It really lets everything settle. Pretty much anytime you're making a dough, it's very similar. You want to let it rest first, right? Everything needs to relax, it's being worked really hard. So what we have over here is we have a steamer, and magic of TV, I already have one steamed. But what I would do is I would steam this, drop it in here, and then I would steam it for an hour, high heat. And when you steam for an hour, that really gets everything really nice and spongy and bouncy. I also have some tempeh that I bought at the store. If you have tempeh and it's unpasteurized tempeh, you can just work with it right away. If it's pasteurized tempeh, which most stores have, you'd have to actually go to usually a farmer's market to get an unpasteurized tempeh. You have to poach it usually first. That way you can digest it a little bit better. So I poached the tempeh for about 20 minutes in a nice veggie broth, and then take it out. I do the same thing, rub it with mustard, same spice mix with the tempeh, and then I drop it in the steamer as well. Obviously I didn't do that with that tempeh, but I did it with tempeh previously. And then keep it in the steamer with the Impossible steak.
Brian, would you wrap the tempeh in the parchment paper and aluminum foil?
No, no need. It's not going to expand at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it expands a little bit, but it's held together with all the soy in it, so it's perfectly fine like that. So let's see the unwrapping here. This has been steamed for an hour.
Just to let you know, we have 60 seconds left.
60 seconds, perfect. You want to pull that tray out?
Yeah.
So if you can see here, this is what it looks like when it's out, and the texture of it is almost like a medium well steak. Smells like a steak, looks just like a steak as well on the outside. So this you can just take and sear, or throw on your smoker outside, which I did. Turn my smoker up to 400 degrees, get a nice sear on the smoker, gets this great smoke flavor. And we're plating up our barbecue right here. Another thing, we also had corn ribs that we did last couple seconds. Take your corn, you just cut it down in quarters. Let me see one of these right there. And this is the corn ribs right here. So you can see how beautiful these are, just on the smoker, high heat. And all these were done at the same time, so you don't have to change what you were cooking. So, do this. 60 seconds and an entire barbecue plate is done. Can you hear me down? Down. There you go. No, pull it up. I got it. There we go. So we have our corn ribs, smoked tempeh, we have smoked Beyond Meat sausages, pimento cheese dip, the cricket flour cornbread, jackfruit from Corona sliders, and then our Impossible steak that we smoked as well. So this is an entire barbecue spread, all plant-based, and any meat eater would be excited to eat it because Jacob and I are meat eaters, and
Correct.
We love it, and we're gonna eat this after.
If you would close your eyes, you would never know that it's not meat. So again, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll definitely share all the recipes for everyone out there that wants to do this on their own. And the technique is solid, but it's a very, very easy thing to produce. So.
Thank you, guys. It looks delicious. Thank you very much for being here with us today. So if you from the audience agrees with me and want to try this at home, we will publish the recipe at our website shortly.